What's up YouTube? Today I'm going to be reviewing the Archer D1X wireless shifting system. This is something you can put on any bike with any derailleur to make your shifting system wireless. I've been running this for the past few months, been putting good miles on it. Let's get into it. So to start, what is the Archer D1X? It's basically a wireless shifter and a pod that mounts to your chainstay. Sometimes it can mount to the seat stay depending on your bike configuration, but basically it pulls a cable to connect to any standard derailleur. And what makes this system unique is that through the app, you can tune every single gear individually. So what that means is it doesn't matter the indexing of your derailleur, trying to pair it to a cassette. As long as the derailleur has the range to travel the full range of the cassette and enough cage length to manage the growth of the chain across the cassette, you can make any derailleur work with any cassette. So this is a good way to solve any compatibility issues, because it allows you to go into the app and tune each gear individually. What that also means is that if you have a bent derailleur hanger or a bent cage or something, you can get the derailleur to, adjust for that damage or alignment issue by just tuning each gear individually. It allows you to solve a few different problems because of that feature. One thing to consider is the cost. So this is $400 for this whole setup. So with that being said, I was really interested in how the actual shifting performance was going to be, because the compatibility stuff is cool, the tunability is awesome, it's wireless, I'm a fan, but that's kind of all for nothing if it doesn't shift well. And I think the bar has been set really high with wireless shifting systems from SRAM and Shimano. The crispness and just how smooth those shift is really impressive. And this isn't exactly to that level. I think would be really hard to get there with just the design constraints of the system, pulling a cable to get that quickness out of it. But I was really impressed with how quick it is. It's quite crisp once you get those shifts dialed in for your cassette. The thing shifts surprisingly quickly and quite well. The only time where I felt like it was slow was I was sprinting into a slalom course and dropping a bunch of gears.
Oh yeah.
Or sprinting into a race run. I did a few races on this up in the Pacific Northwest at Hot Laps. That was the only situation where I feel like it just had trouble moving through a lot of gears really quickly. Where with the Axis stuff, I feel like, and even a mechanical group set, you can just huck a bunch of gears at once and it kind of gets there really quickly as long as you're not jammed up. This just had a bit of trouble taking that many gears all at once. But once you were clicking one or two of them, even in a race situation, I was able to bang gears and I don't think it was really affecting anything. So maybe not the best when it comes to throwing a bunch of gears all at once, but for 95% of situations, I think it performs really well and honestly a lot better than I expected. The shifter ergonomics really kind of mimic the original SRAM Axis paddle shifter, and I was honestly a huge fan of that shifter. Some people didn't like it, they came out with a revised one, but I really like just setting your thumb there and just having a really quick up or down motion. I think it makes a lot of sense, and yeah, I feel like the ergonomics of this shifter was really good. It didn't leave too much to be desired. I was a little nervous. This is meant to make setup easier, to not route a cable through the frame, but you also have to mount this thing to your chainstay and deal with kind of a new system. But I was surprised at how easy it was to set up. It comes with a pre-cut cable. You can shorten it if need be, but I just threw it on there. And I opened the app, was able to connect, tune every gear individually, and then I was kind of off riding. So setup was surprisingly easy. I will say zip tying this to your frame feels a little janky. On my first ride, it did come loose, but I just had to get in there and really yank these zip ties down with a pair of pliers. This chainstay is curved, so it's probably not the most ideal setup for it. Once it was installed and shifting, I haven't had to like really mess with it, and it hasn't come loose since. The one thing I had to figure out is to, you know, fine tune the adjustments. Like after I went on my first ride, you have to disconnect the shifter to connect to the phone. It's auto connected, so it's just an extra step that I wasn't aware of. If you saw the first ride impressions with the Druid, you'll know I had issues with that. That was just a issue with me not learning the system, but it is an extra step to take to adjust the derailleur. And I guess that is a reality of it. It's like, it's impossible to adjust the system without your phone. Like Axis has some, you know, external adjustment system. It's like you have to take out your phone, disconnect the shifter, connect to the derailleur, and make those adjustments. So with that being said, maybe my biggest gripe with the system is the whole battery life, battery situation. So it's got a proprietary battery for this rear controller here. I'll take it out. It kind of snaps on to the back here. Oops, there it is. So to my knowledge, there's no auto shut-off feature. So you have to take this battery off if you don't want it to just drain while the bike's sitting there. And in my experience, if you leave the bike sitting there for a couple days, the battery is going to be close to dead or dead completely. So I just rarely got to the point where I didn't have a little bit of battery anxiety, and it just was a reality that for me to be confident in the charge of this thing, I had to take it off and put it on the charger every ride. And with other wireless systems out there, that's not the case. You can at least go like multiple rides, you know, quite a few rides actually, without having to worry about charging it. But with this, I was always kind of worried about the battery situation. The controller charges with a micro USB, and that lasts quite a long time. My riding's been inconsistent, so it's hard to say like how many rides over a given amount of time, but I've had to charge the shifter maybe like 2 or 3 times, and probably a few of those were just unnecessary, but I didn't want it to die on me. Like that's the whole thing. It's like, maybe to test this, I should have really just ridden until they died, but like I just don't want to go out and have the batteries die on me. So it's kind of like making sure my bases were covered and charging these quite a bit. But there was no way to get around this battery dying while the bike's just sitting there. I do have a battery bank in my truck, so a few times when this thing's been completely dead and I've forgotten to charge it, I have thrown it on the charger for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I'm able to actually get through most of a ride with it. So maybe if you're riding every day, you know, you can get a couple rides out of it and not have to throw it on the charger. Maybe there's something I'm not aware of to kind of manage this problem. But if you're just like more dialed with your, you know, whole life maybe than me, you know, taking this off and putting it on a charger is really not that big of a deal. But for me, I'm kind of scatterbrained, and I have definitely put myself in situations where I'm like, oh man, like forgot to charge it, my battery's dead, and then it's just like something I've got to deal with. Otherwise, I feel like the system really impressed me. I've heard mixed reviews over the years, and I know they've put a lot of updates and development into even since it's been released, and they've gotten it to a really good place. I think the use cases are a little obscure and won't apply to everyone, but this will allow you to run any derailleur on pretty much any bike, and bypass any internal routing headaches. So yeah, I think it checks some boxes. They're not going to be for everyone, but there is a use case for this. And yeah, I was stoked to give it a try. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Check out my Patreon. I've got a bunch of videos up there that aren't on YouTube yet. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.